My name is Eli, and this isn't the kind of story you expect from a quiet lake town like Whispering Pines. It's the kind of place where retirees sip lemonade on wraparound porches and gossip about who didn't edge their lawn properly. But beneath the manicured lawns and neighborly smiles, there's a rot. A rot called the Homeowners Association. Whispering Pines wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a performance. Every mailbox matched, every flower bed regulated, and every property came with an unspoken warning: don't step out of line. When my grandfather built our cabin on the far end of the lake back in 1963, Whispering Pines didn't even exist. It was just forest, water, and the occasional campfire. He carved that land out of wilderness with nothing but his bare hands and an old chainsaw. The cabin sat just off the tree line, overlooking a stretch of lake so still it looked like glass. At dawn, that cabin was where I spent every summer as a kid, learning to fish, skipping stones, listening to my granddad tell stories about how freedom isn't given, it's built. He taught me that land meant something, that peace couldn't be bought, only protected. He passed away in 2016, left the cabin to me. The will was clear. The property fully paid off, free and clear of any neighborhood covenants or restrictions, was mine. I moved in part-time, using it as a weekend escape from the noise of the city. No neighbors, no lawn inspections, just trees, water, and silence. Or so I thought. It started with a knock, middle of August. I'd just come back from a weekend hike, boots muddy, flannel soaked through from the rain. I wasn't expecting anyone, especially not someone in a mint green polo shirt with a clipboard and a NAMA tag that read, Karen Delacroix, HOA President. "Good afternoon," she chirped, smiling the way someone does when they're pretending it's not a threat. "We've noticed your roof is non-compliant with Whispering Pines design standards. Tin sheeting isn't permitted." I blinked at her. "I'm not in Whispering Pines." Her smile faltered for a millisecond. "According to our 1998 annexation paperwork, this property falls within HOA jurisdiction. You should have received a welcome packet." "I didn't, because this property isn't part of your HOA." "Well, it is now." She handed me a letter. $250 fine for unauthorized roofing. A warning to address the violation within 30 days. I laughed and closed the door in her face. But that was just the beginning. Next came the letters, then the late fees, then a lien notice. The HOA claimed I owed over $3,000 in unpaid assessments, fines, and violation penalties. My cabin, they said, was out of compliance with community visual standards. My dock was untagged, my fire pit was unpermitted, my yard had wild overgrowth, also known as nature. When I tried calling the number on the letters, I got voicemail after voicemail. No one answered. When I sent certified letters disputing their claims, they were returned unopened. Then one Friday, I drove up from the city and found the cabin door padlocked, windows boarded. A red sign on the front porch read, "Foreclosed property of Whispering Pines, HOA." I stood there, dumbfounded. They'd taken my home. I went straight to the county clerk's office. The woman behind the counter, clearly exhausted with this exact conversation, sighed and pulled up the property records. "Looks like it was auctioned last week. Private HOA. Transfer. Sold to a holding company in Nevada. This isn't even in their HOA. According to their documents, it is. They filed annexation paperwork in 2002. That's fake. This property was never annexed. I have the original deed, the original survey." She leaned in and whispered, "You're not the first. They've been slowly eating up properties around the lake for years. Usually places without full-time residents. You'll need a good lawyer." I found one. A damn good one. We filed suit within the month. Challenged the annexation, the lien, the foreclosure. But it didn't matter. The HOA's paperwork was tight. Forged, but tight. And the local judge, the same one who lived in Whispering Pines, wasn't interested in challenging the status quo. The case was dismissed. My appeal failed. The cabin bulldozed. They cleared the land within weeks, turned it into a community. Canoe launch. I lost everything. Or so they thought. What Karen didn't know, what no one at that smug little HOA knew, was that my grandfather hadn't just built a cabin. He'd built the dam that created Whispering Pines Lake in the first place. He owned the spillway, the maintenance rights, the flood control mechanisms, and when he died, he left those to me too. Not just the land, the water, you see, before the HOA even existed. My grandfather negotiated an agreement with the county to maintain the dam privately. That agreement was renewable every 10 years. It had just come up for renewal, and this time, I didn't sign it. I spent the next year watching the neighborhood unravel. Without flood control, lake levels dropped, fish died, the water receded so far back from the shore that docks sat crooked on dry earth. The stench of algae filled the air by June. Boat rentals closed. Kayaking tours canceled. Residents screamed at HOA meetings, demanded action. Karen blamed environmental changes, claimed I was sabotaging the lake. But the truth was simple. I was done protecting their paradise. They took what was mine. So I took what made their neighborhood valuable. Property values plummeted. People stopped paying dues. Lawsuits mounted. One board member resigned. Then another. I kept my distance, watched the chaos unfold. Sometimes, I'd sit on a nearby hill with a thermos of coffee and just listen to the sound of furious voices echoing across the dry lake bed. And then came the final blow. I sold the dam. Not to a developer, not to a private buyer, but to the state. A conservation trust that had been trying to reclaim the lake for years finally had an opening. I sold it for $1. They planned to drain the lake over 3 years and let the land return to wetlands, reintroduce native plants, build public hiking trails. Whispering Pines would become a dried-up, landlocked ghost town. Karen showed up at my apartment the day the sale went public. She was screaming before I even opened the door. "You think you've won? You think you've destroyed us? We'll sue. You're finished." I smiled. "It's public land now, Karen. Maybe you can kayak on your tears." She did call the cops. Said I was a terrorist, that I'd intentionally sabotaged the lake. The officer who showed up happened to be the son of a man whose cabin had also been stolen by the HOA. He laughed in her face. No charges, no case, nothing she could do. The neighborhood collapsed within 18 months. Karen resigned in disgrace. Her house, listed for a quarter of what it was worth, in that shiny sign at the entrance of Whispering Pines. Rusted, tilting, surrounded by weeds, and I built a new cabin. Smaller, simpler, a few miles away. No HOA, just trees, water, and the kind of silence you earn. My grandfather once told me something I never forgot. They can take your house, but they can't take your land, if you know how to hold it. Turns out, he was right.